Welcome back to the Supreme Leadership Series. We kicked off the series several months ago with John Maxwell discussing what leadership is, what the best leaders do, and what the best leaders don't do. In February, we were joined by Dr. Ike Reichert and Mike Ray to discuss hiring the best teammates. We discussed the specific tools the organizations use that become the best to recruit championship players. At Supreme, we use DISC and WonderPro. Keller Williams, they use a tool called KPA. Regardless of the tool an organization uses, we discuss the importance of hiring associates that best fit the culture of the organization and are the best equipped to execute the specific roles on the team. People, the right people, obviously are the foundation of building a championship team. Last month, we spent time with Horst Schulze, co-founder of the Ritz-Carlton. Horst is arguably the leading voice of our generation on the topic of service. He shared the building blocks of delivering world-class service. Do three things. Deliver your service defect-free. Deliver on time. And most important, be nice. Today, we're once again joined by John Maxwell, best-selling author and the world's foremost voice on the topic of leadership. In our time together, we'll discuss some of the foundation building blocks that championship businesses should develop before they open their doors. A clear vision, a distinct mission, and a guiding inspiration that'll govern everyone's behavior. Additionally, we'll discuss how to keep score and the importance of keeping score and determine the measures that matter the most for your business and mine. John Maxwell, you ready to roll?
I'm ready. Good to be with you, Pat.
It's good to see you too, John. We appreciate you joining us on this journey. John, everyone that's watching, they all want to build a championship team. They want to do it at home, but today we're focusing on the workplace. They want to do it in the workplace, and we want to give them the foundation principles, the things that they have to do to be able to build a championship organization. Let's start out with vision. The definition is the ability to think about, plan with wisdom and imagination, the future. Vision's where we're attempting to go. And Supreme, we created our vision, which is to become the best mortgage banking company in America. Tell us the importance of enrolling, John, people in a vision and why it's so important.
Well, first of all, people do what people see. So the reason vision works is it's visual. Leadership is visual. When people follow a leader, it's because they see that leader. When culture is established in a company, it's not established by the words that you say. It's by the actions that you do. So visual really works. In fact, Stanford research says 89% of everything you and I know, we learned it visually first. 10% audio, 1% through the other senses. So establishing a vision is just absolutely essential for the success of a company. However, in the leadership world that I live, what I try to help people understand, especially when you're talking about, Pat, starting something, building something up. In the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, I have the law of buy-in. And the law of buy-in just simply says people buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. And so when leaders come up to me, Pat, and they'll say something like, boy, John, I've got this great vision of something I would really like to build, this company I'd like to start. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think that people will gravitate to the vision? And I always stop them and I say, well, let me ask you the question. Have the people bought into you as a leader? You see, if they've bought into you as a leader, they're going to buy into the vision. If they haven't bought into you as a leader, they're really not going to buy the vision. So when people talk about vision, they talk about putting some kind of a preferred picture of the future out in front of the eyes of people for them to see that would motivate them. And I say, no, that comes second. There are two visions you've got to cast for your people. And the first vision isn't anything about what you want your company to be. The first vision is who you are. And if you are the right person, then they're ready to sit down and they're ready to enlarge their mind about the vision that you may have for them. But if they haven't really bought into you, then they're not going to buy in the vision. So whenever I talk about vision casting, I say there's a difference between a vision caster and a vision carrier. Um, uh, when they buy into me, they buy into me because I carry that vision. In other words, when they see John Maxwell, when they see Pat Flood, they see the vision. They already see it. Now, there is a vision. There is a preferred picture out there for that future, but they see you. They see me. So I always say that, it's you that you sell before it's the vision that you sell. And a lot of leaders, they miss it there. They just think, if I have a great vision, people will follow it. Well, they may like the vision, but if they don't like you, they're not going to follow you to it. So let's get ourselves in a sense in a state of credibility, because we have a way of making that vision talk to people every day and become personal every day and become achievable every day if they see it in us. If they don't see it in us, it's just not going to sell.
John, we've been a serial best place to work. And when I look at the data nationally with regard to people in the workplace, almost 90% of the people that go to work in America are either disengaged or actively disengaged, meaning they're going and they're doing something for 8 to 10 hours a day. They're getting a paycheck to do it. And then they're going home, which can't be good for whoever's at home when they get there, right? Because if they're disengaged, actively disengaged all day long, that doesn't mean there's joy being created. I've always thought, and we use two words here at Supreme more than anyone else, any other words. One is best. I've always thought that people, they want to be their best. So vision has to enroll them in something that we're all going to try to do together that is going to finish at being the best in whatever it is that we're going to do. Whether it's building a church or building a mortgage bank or building a real estate concern, there's no different. Why enroll or yourself, or why enroll someone else in something that's less than that when people fundamentally want something better? That's what they want to do. They want to get involved with something that actually is promising or hoping for a better tomorrow. So I appreciate the idea, because you always do talk about the individual that's leading it, because it has to have credibility, right? Is that what you're saying? That it has to have credibility? Whatever the vision is, the person that's leading it has to be credible.
Yeah. It goes back, Pat, to show and tell. In the beginning, you have nothing to show. In other words, the dream that you have within you, or the vision you have, you don't have the facility to show. You don't have the results. I remember, in what was it, 1997, when I started Equip, I said we want to train leaders around the world. Well, that's a wonderful statement, but I didn't have anybody to point to. I didn't have anybody say, now look, we've trained 60,000 people here, and I had nothing. I just had a vision. That's why the buy-in is essential. There's nothing to show. So they have to buy into you and believe that you have credibility as a leader to pull it off before they buy into that vision. So, it's what John Wooden used to tell his basketball players: don't tell me what you're going to do, show me what you're going to do. Well, the credibility of a leader isn't what he or she says. The credibility of a leader is what he or she does. And so it's so key for me to live that vision and become credible and believable, and have people borrow my vision until they can see it be a reality, but they borrow it because of me. Kouzes and Posner, in their book, The Leadership Challenge, which is a phenomenal book, by the way, what they say is that great leaders take the vision from me to we. And so go back to, they have to buy into the leader before they buy the vision. But then there's another important part that most people miss again. Again, we take the vision and almost make it like paramount. Like, oh, if you just have a great vision, you can build a great company. And that's just not true. It's not true. Let's talk about me to we for just a moment. Well, what that means is that there has to be a transition in any company where people quit talking about our founder's vision, or this is what John Maxwell has shared. This is where he says we're going. And you know that you're making great progress on the vision when the people start talking about our vision, and this is what we're doing together, and this is where we're going, and we're very excited about this next step in our journey. Now, all of a sudden, you're hearing conversation of buy-in. They not only have bought into you, but they've bought into the vision. But how does that happen? That happens by giving people a piece of the action. And again, I think this is where the big miss is. When I was a young leader, this was a big miss for me. I thought, man, I've just got to get this perfect vision, and I lay it out, and the people will just respond, and here we go. Well, what I didn't understand was that they didn't want to follow my vision. They wanted to follow their vision. And I learned over years that if I take my vision and then sit down with them and I ask them a very simple question, help me make it better. Help me make it better. Here's what I think, and here's what I see. But let's talk about it. And this is powerful. I can tell you, I've done this so many times. This is powerful. I sit down with you, Pat, maybe there's 7 of us around the table, and I say, well, okay, let me share with you what I'm thinking. Let me share with you what I'm seeing. And I need you to help me. By the way, one of the most important phrases a leader can ever tell their team is, I need you to help me. This is,
Amazing.
you see, most leaders, they kind of come in and here I am to save the day and I'm here to help you. It's powerful when I walk in my people and say, I need you to help me. That's not where, here's what I know. It's good, but it's not great yet. But you're going to help me make it great. So let's talk about it. Now, this is what I talk about when I talk about shared vision, creatively coming together and putting together. Shared thinking is huge. If you have a good idea and I have a good idea, we have 2 ideas. But if you don't share it with me and I don't share it with you, I still only have 1 idea. So the first thing is we got to get it on the table and we have to share it. But now watch happens. If you have a good idea and I have a good idea and we begin to share that good idea, guess what? Pretty soon we get 3 ideas, because what happens is it's in the sharing that ideas multiply. Ideas are never great in the beginning. I mean, good Lord, they have to be developed. So a great idea is a combination of several good ideas put together. And then all of a sudden you have a great idea. So around the room, Pat, I get all of you in the room and I say, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm seeing. Make it better for me. If I've done this once, I've done it 1,000 times. And if I've done it once and asked people to help me, 1,000 times they've helped me. I have never left the room with the original thought I had that didn't have better perspective and better content in it. Every time I ask people to help me, they help me, and it gets better. Now, all of a sudden, when I walk out of the room, it isn't my vision. It's not my idea. It's our idea.
Our idea.
And that's where ownership goes. Does that make sense, Pat?
It makes a total sense, because then everyone owns responsibility for the vision actually taking place, right? And they own responsibility for us to get to where we want to go. You know, when you were mentioning equip, this is just, how you're wired, but the idea you want to train leaders around the world, and you're just getting a business started, right? That's bold and audacious, and yet it's simple in its brilliance, because you had something that the world needed, and you had a heart, and you had the wisdom to be able to know that leadership was going to be the catalyst for success for organizations, good and not so good. I remember at the time when I met you, we were one of your first clients at Equip, because we were interviewing companies like Gallup and Covey about their leadership programs, and they certainly are all good programs, but I kept getting this feeling that it wasn't going to turn my people, because the question I would ask is, if my people participate in this program, what will they become?
Yeah, sure.
And then you all answered that question in a simple way. And obviously, since Equip got started, you have changed the world. In fact, I'm looking at your book right now that says change the world, right? So an awful lot has happened since that early period of time.
Pat,
So
can I say one other thing, Pat?
sure.
Because you're opening up my mind with your questions, which are always good. I love being with you. I have another teaching I do called action attraction. And it's a very simple teaching, but the teaching is very powerful. And that is sometimes we expect the vision to do the work for us. So we get clarity as far as here's what we want to accomplish, and we put the dream on the refrigerator or whatever it is, and then we wait for that dream to work. And what people miss is the fact that you have to take action on whatever that vision is. You can't allow the vision to do the work. You have to do the work of the vision. So in action attraction, here's what happens. I have to start moving. Now, the challenge for people on vision and movement is the fact that in the beginning, you don't see everything. I'm always very clear to let my people know, here's what I see. But I want you to know what I see isn't the total picture. But the only way I'm going to get the better picture and the only way I'm going to get the bigger picture is to start moving. So I move without all the answers. I move without having, quote, perfect planning, but I move. Because here's what happens. When I know who I am and when I know what I want to accomplish and I start moving on that, it's the action, it's the movement that begins to attract people to me. So here's what happens. I start moving, and all of a sudden I attract resources, I attract people, I attract opportunities, all the things that if I stood still and said, boy, I hope this vision becomes true, or boy, I hope this dream becomes a reality in my life. And I always say, well, the dream's free, but the journey isn't. So, so let's get moving here. Let's get moving. And I think so many times we don't move. And people say, well, I don't have all the answers. Well, you'll never move if you have all the answers. Where you find the answer, moving is how you find the answer. So you plan well, you think on the front end. I'm not anti any of that, but you have to move. And all of a sudden, when you start moving, the picture starts open. So when I said we're going to train 1 million leaders in the world, people said, well, how are you going to do that? Well, I said, now there are 2 or 3 things I know we're going to do. And they looked at me and they said, is that enough? I said, no. I said, it's not enough. But when we start moving, it'll become enough. Because we'll attract more people, we'll attract more trainers, we'll attract more money. It'll all come, but you have to move on the vision. And to kind of just wait for the vision to make your day is a huge mistake.
We both know Marcy Fair, and I was at an event with her just last week, and it was for Cares for Kids. And it was a celebratory event about the achievements of her vision. And her vision was really just to help children, right? And they came out to start with, hey, we'd like to help 500 children. And they got moving. And then it got to 5,000. And then it got to 100,000. And we just celebrated as a group all of those that got on board, enrolled in her vision. We just celebrated them touching the lives of 500,000 children. And now, they've raised the number. Marcy said, now that we've gotten there, we need to. And of course, everyone now realizes what's possible. But I just heard all of that you talked about. Marcy had a important mission in mind, vision in mind, which was to help kids. And then she enrolled people in it because of who she is. And then they got moving, and she was just telling the stories of how many different things that have happened since then that they didn't foretell, that they didn't have as a part of their plan, just like you just described, because they were on the move, but they were doing something really exceptional, and that is they were helping children. I think sometimes the vision is about getting something, and what I heard you talk about, the vision for Equip was giving something, giving the world and its leaders better insights about how to do their work better so that they could impact the people that they were actually leading. Marcy, very similar. And it was a blessing last week to be there. I want to ask you about now. So that's where we're going, vision, and it's important. And thank you for your insights on it because they're, like always, they're just brilliant. I want to talk about mission because the way we look at it is the vision is where we're going. The mission is kind of how we're going to get there. Like, what is it that's going to get us to that place that we all want to go? And our mission statement at Supreme is really simple, but we think it affects every part of life, which is serving others before self. Because it's our belief, we talked about best, the vision of becoming the best. We believe that if you live a selfless life, if you live a life at home, in the workplace, everywhere, where you're putting other people and their needs in front of your own, and it's not natural, but it leads to best. We think it unlocks best. So our mission statement here is serving others before self. Give us your thoughts on mission statements, the how, if you will, the organization will kind of stay centered on its values.
Well, they're essential, as you know, and they have different responsibilities. They do two different things for us. I often say that vision, that is the eyes of an organization. That's what we see. I've always felt that mission is the soul of the organization, and I think that it's from the soul that we receive our energy. It's from the soul that we explain and know why we are doing something and why we are so committed to it. I think mission is essential, and here's why. I'm going to use, because I'm a person of faith, and by the way, I loved your Marcy Fair illustration. Her and Brian are great people, and I mean, but there's an example of a lady who said, I want to help kids, and she just started. And if you ask Marcy today, 500,000 kids later, if she ever planned on this, she would say, I planned on helping people. I didn't know I would be able to help that many. And that's the beauty of vision. And when we think of mission, I think it's easy to get distracted with vision. I think mission calls for commitment more than vision does. And so I like to see people get to the mission stage of their life, the why that they're doing what they're doing, because I think that is core to the tenacity and the commitment of making sure that mission and vision come to fruition. And so because I'm a person of faith, I can use this illustration. And that is, in the story of Nehemiah when he was building a wall in Jerusalem. And, he had distractors. He had people saying, hey, this isn't going to... He had a lot of opposition.
Sanballat, Tobias.
Yeah,
I know those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, they come and see me often. Do they see you often too?
They do, yes.
And all they are is distractors. Every time you have a meeting with them, they're going to get you off course. Every time you have a meeting with them, they're going to try to move you off of mission. And I love Nehemiah. They're ready to have their meeting. They're down there on the ground, and they're yelling up to Nehemiah, "Hey, we're ready to have our meeting." And Nehemiah said, "No, you don't understand. I'm building a wall, and I cannot come down." In other words, his mission was so great that it allowed him to override the distractions of other people. Now, this is huge. I hope I can do a good job in the next 3 minutes, because this is going to give the people that are with you in this great time together, this is going to give them some food. Several years ago, I was writing a book, Pat, and it was a book on how to reach your dreams. Okay. And it was I tried 2 times to write the book, and I both times stopped because it wasn't going where I wanted it to go, which, sometimes that happens when I write. It just isn't what I wanted. And the reason I stopped was because both times I thought, this is too hypey. This is kind of too raw. And I don't want that to be in my dream book. And so I pulled away. So the third time, I said, I'm going to try it again. But the third time, I found I found the foundation I needed to build on this book on, and here it is. How many times do we see people with a dream, a mission, a vision, and they get started and then they stop and they quit, and you guys say, okay, what happened here? What happened? I mean, was it not a good dream? Was it not a worthy vision? And almost always, yeah, it was a very good dream. It was a very worthy vision. It hit me when I wrote this book. Don't miss this. The more valid reasons I have to achieve a dream, a vision, accomplish a mission, don't miss this. The more valid reasons I have to achieve it, the higher the odds are that I will. And all of a sudden it hit me. If I only have one reason to be on this mission, if I only have one reason to go for that vision, life will knock it out of me. Trust me, it's only a matter of time until they're going to be hollering and saying, come down off the wall. Okay. So how do I keep from being distracted? How do I keep from getting off of the rails when I'm doing something that would really make a difference in people's life? And the answer is very simple. The more reasons I have to accomplish the vision, the more reasons I have to stay on mission, the higher the odds are that I will. So if I only have one, I'll get knocked off. But what happens if I have a half a dozen reasons to get there? Now, all of a sudden, when I start getting knocked around, okay, I lost that one, but I still got 4 other reasons why I need to be doing this. And so what I tell people is, I want the vision to be clear. I want the mission to be in your soul. But let me explain something to you. You better figure out why you want to go there. Because until you figure out why you want to go there and you get some reasons stacked up and lined up, you're going to get off track. You aren't going to make it. So like in that book, Put Your Dream to the Test, I came up with 10 good, valid reasons to achieve your dream. And so, I did it with questions, but I put it in a book. I basically just said, let's go through these, put your dream to the test, put your vision to the test, put your mission to the test. And I found it to be very successful. And in our conversation today, Pat, I'm here to say, I want the dream, I want the vision to be clear. I want the mission to be felt. I got it. But you better figure out how many reasons you've got to get there. Because when people talk to me about the things that I've accomplished in my life, I can give you a half a dozen reasons why I'm on this course. Not just one, not just two. And so therefore, I'll get a few knocked out of me on the way, but they can't knock all of them out. By the time they knock all 6 or 7 out from under me, I'm already there. You follow me?
I love it. No, I love it. And listen, every time I've talked with you, John, there's nuggets of wisdom that just pour out of you. And it's a gift that obviously in your soul that God put in you. And I just, again, thank you for sharing, not only today, but just thank you for sharing that wisdom, because people are living better lives as a result of it. It's interesting. We talked with Horst Schulze, who, with an 8th grade education, built 2 of the greatest hospitality companies that have ever existed, the Ritz-Carlton and the Capella Group. And their mission was ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. Of course, one of my favorites, Chick-Fil-a, who I've had the blessing of, before he passed, of breaking bread with Truett. And I also had Dan, which I want to tell a quick story about. But their mission at Chick-fil-A is to be America's best quick service restaurant at winning and keeping customers. And I think about that simple concept, but it consolidates into a daily focus that everyone in the organization has. Like, we want to win and we want to keep our customers.
Yeah.
I asked Dan to come and do a leadership program for us years ago, and he did. And when everyone got settled in and he got introduced, he asked where I was in the room, and I was in the back of the room, and not in the front seat. I was in the back seat, and he asked me to come to the front of the room. I did. And he got down on his knees and he rolled up my pants and he started shining my shoes.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling this sense of great discomfort, being uncomfortable that this man was doing this. And he was there to teach leadership. And if he did nothing else, he did. It was done. Because as soon as he finished doing that, I think everybody in the room got the point, which is, his humility and the simplicity of what he just did. It sent a message that was profound. And certainly in our organization, it was. All right, so we got a vision. An organization should have a place that it intends to go. It needs to have a mission. We like to think our mission, serving others before self, is like the rudder on our boat. It's the thing that steers us all the time, no matter what the decisions are, no matter what the market conditions are, no matter what the strategy is. It is always with us in the room. It's our soul, and it tells us what to do next, because we can't operate outside of the concept of putting everything up against serving others before self. And for us, in our own little way, not the Ritz-Carlton worldwide, and certainly Chick-Fil-A, which, by the way, is the third largest company in its space now, and it's closed on Sundays. It's pretty fascinating that a simple mission of serving at the Ritz, and a simple mission of serving at Chick, and a simple mission of serving at Supreme has offered so much success. Talk to us about inspiration. Like when an organization wakes up every day, there's the vision, where we want to get to. There's the mission, that value, core set of values, the simplicity of the rudder on the boat. But inspiration is, what do we do today? I mean, what are we about today? Talk to us about inspiration, if you would.
Yeah, I love that question. And I'm asked all the time from people. They say, what inspires you? What motivates you? What gets you up in the morning to do what you're doing? Gosh, I'm 75 and I'm loving every moment of my life. And yeah, I'm here with you today, and Monday and Tuesday I'll be in the High Point.
And you have two bobbleheads. You have two bobbleheads now. So you're
of which you gave me the last one. And let me just say this: the other bobblehead has me in my late 30s or early 40s, and I look very good, and I'm very young. Then you just gave me this bobblehead. Honest, it's an old man with gray hair. And I look at in fact, I took it.
But he's very handsome, and he dresses really well.
Hey, and I brought it into Margaret, my wife, and I said, "Look what Pat just sent me, this bobblehead." And she said, "Oh, I love it." She said, "Oh, you got the white hair. He did that really good." And then she said, "And he took 40 pounds off you. He's a real friend." So thank you very much. You made me.
You're welcome.
And that just doesn't happen. So you're a real friend. You really are. But my inspiration is just the fact that the people that I add value to keep coming back and telling me you're making a difference. I'm buying your books because your books help me. I'm going to your conferences because your conference helps me. I'm becoming a John Maxwell team coach because it's helping me. And so my inspiration, my motivation, what keeps me moving, at 75 and have no desire to stop, is the fact that people's lives are being changed. People are better off because I'm hanging around with people trying to help them. And to me, is there a better fulfillment than that? I mean, there has to be something greater than the biggest thing in your day is what time is my tea time. I mean, there has to be something bigger than that in your life somewhere. And I think it goes back to something you alluded to a little bit earlier. Most organizations, they want something from the people. So let's create customers so we can make some money. See, I think there's a difference between wanting something from people and wanting something for people. And the moment that you want something for people, what people don't understand is, see, when I want something for you, I'm transformational. When I want something from you, I'm transactional. And what people don't understand is transactionalism, it has a very short lifespan. Transformation. When I want something for you, and every day I come up and I wake up to add value to you, I promise you, we're gonna keep you as a customer. You're going to stay there. In 1996, I was speaking for Chick-Fil-A, and they had their conference that year over in the Bahamas. And so Dan and I are playing golf. And as we're going down, I'll never forget, we're going down the fairway, he looked at me and he said, "You know what? Fast food is just fast food. It really is." So he said, we're trying to figure out how can we distinguish ourselves from other fast food restaurants? What's the difference maker? And he said, we've come to the conclusion serving other people is going to be the difference
Mm.
maker. We're going to serve other people so well. Hey, it's my pleasure. Okay. Hey, it's ladies and gentlemen. Okay. He said, we're going to serve people so well that's what's going to set us apart. And I said, Dad, are you saying to me that people are going to come to your fast food place over other fast food places, not because your product's any better, but just because your service is a lot better? He said, well, we want our product to be the very best we can make it. So we're not anti having a good product, but he said, yes. He said, we're going to treat people so well that when they have a choice of what fast food restaurant I'm going to go to, they're going to pick Chick-fil-A. Now, that was in 1996. That's what would that, we're talking about 26 years ago. And look where they are today. And if you ask people what
Amazing.
sets Chick-fil-A apart, they would tell you that when you get in a Chick-fil-A line, it's going to go fast. You're not in line for 20 minutes. You're in line for about 5. And that's a double line that goes around the building. And they're going to tell you that they're going to always treat you with courtesy, and they're always going to give you a smile, and they're always going to serve you with excellence, and it's always going to be my pleasure. Yeah. And I think that's huge. And I think I think our miss so many times is that we're always asking, what can I do for me? If I could change the mindset of people, I would say to them, every day as you get up, your inspiration should not be, what did I receive or what did I reap? Your inspiration should be, what did I sow?
What did I say? Mm.
You see, the
That is
the
that.
greatness of a day for Maxwell is the seeds I sow, not the harvest I reap. I never get up in a day and say, oh my gosh, I hope I receive something. People are good to me today. No. I just say, hey, I'm going to be with Pat on his show, and how can I add value to him? How can I add value to all of the people that are on your program right now? How can I add value? Sow the seed, sow the seed. Because what people don't understand is the harvest is automatic. It's automatic. Focus on sowing the seed, and the moment I sow the seed, now the future is guaranteed. And I think that's a big miss. So I don't get inspired by the money I make, and I make good money. I don't get inspired by the honors I have, and I got a bunch of honors. I get inspired by the fact that I get to get up today and I get to add value to Pat and all the people that are with you today. That's what inspires me. I go home, and what made my day a great day? I got to be on your program. I got to say something hopefully that help people. That's what I'm not waiting for a return to get happy. The investment makes me happy. The sowing of the seed, that's where the fulfillment is, because that is about others.
John, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm thinking John Maxwell, Marcy Fair, Horst Schulze, Dan Truett Cathy, and Chick-fil-A organization, and humbly Supreme, we all share one thing in common, which is what you just said a few minutes ago. We sow rather than focus on reaping. And the reason why people, I believe, are limiting themselves in the workplace, organizations and individuals, is because their intention is to get something, a profit, to get the most they possibly can for themselves, as opposed to what all of those folks that I just mentioned who have really changed the world in their own way. Horst in hospitality, in the quick service, as they say, a Chick-fil-A business, and you in leadership, Marcy with Care for Kids, Supreme as a serial best workplaces. We're all focused on the simple but brilliant idea of giving away a blessing to other people in their lives, as opposed to trying to get something. And then when you look at these folks that we're talking about with relatively average backgrounds and pedigree, they've all been over blessed in every single way in their life, awards and financially and everything else. So the harvest is just a natural following to those that understand the concept of sowing, which was just absolutely brilliantly described. Thank you for that.
Pat, I was having a lunch one day with Angela Arntz, who was the CEO for many years of Burberry, turned Burberry around. Then she went to Apple, and she was number 3 with Apple. She was head of all retail, and the highest paid executive in the world, female. I think her last year with Apple, she made $74 million. So she did good. So we're having lunch one day, and I'm saying, Angela, what's the best advice you ever received? And she said, my father gave it to me when I was a child. He said, he sat me aside and he said, Angela, here's the way I want you to live your life. Give 60, take 40. Just do it every day. Just give 60, take 40. Always give more than you receive. And she said, I was taught that as an 8-year-old girl. And I've grown up, and every day I give 60, take 40. Give 60, take 40. Give 60, take 40. It's never I give 40 and take 60. No, I give 60. I always make sure I give more than I receive. And then she smiled at the end of our conversation on that give 60, take 40. And she said, and by the way, John, I found out 40 is enough. It's just enough. And I thought how true that is. And I think that's the big miss again. We're always saying, boy, what's in it for me? What am I going to get? And what we don't realize is if you wait for someone else to bring you fulfillment, if you wait for someone else to bring you happiness, if you wait for somebody else to bring you significance and self-worth, you got a long wait. But the moment that you sow and realize that when I pour into your life and want more for you than from me, that I'm already doing something significant. And I'm already, now all of a sudden, I am the creator of my own joy. I'm the creator of my own inspiration, as we were talking about a moment ago, because I'm giving and I'm in control of that. I'm sowing, I'm in control of that. The rest of it, it's automatic. And as Angela said, 40's enough.
When you were talking about being 75 and having joy and you can feel it, you certainly could retire. There's no retirement concept in Scripture, in the Bible. And I think it's because of this conversation we're having. When you're sowing, you're so filled with joy that you would never want to stop sowing. And your platform to sow is the workplace environment where you can bear influence, of course, outside of your home doing that. And so, as I tell people now, retirement's a relatively new thing, and it's because people are working to get, not sow, they're working to get. And as a result, by the time they get enough money, if they can get enough money to retire, they're exhausted from working to get.
Yeah.
They need to retire. And
like that.
and people in retirement don't necessarily look like they're having always that much fun. I'm not saying never, I'm just saying mostly. I want to shift finally to keeping score. And our corporate scoreboard at Supreme isn't starting out. Our first idea is associate satisfaction. And why serving others before self? We simply look at who are our constituents. So the constituents are first the people that I assemble with every day, those that are enrolled in the vision of becoming the best mortgage banking company in America, those that all join in the mission of serving others before self. So we look at the caretaking of them first. And our way of measuring is best place to work every year so we can get feedback as to what we can do. That voice in the room, the 7 people in the room telling us, hey, it just so happens it's 250. Here's what we can do better if we're really trying to enrich the lives of the people that are here. The second thing we measure is our customer experience and what they have to say about us so that we can make adjustments, so that we can continue to serve others before self. We are competing, so we want to be productive. And like Chick-Fil-A, I read about them. They're growing 2 and 3 times faster than everyone in their industry because of what they're doing. That simple and brilliant idea. So I think measuring is important. Most organizations measure profit, and then they celebrate the people that are selling the most. But there's a whole lot of other people that are there that aren't being measured every day. Tell us what your thoughts are on measures and why they matter for organizations.
Well, I think that there are 2 statements I want to make. We've all heard the statement, what gets measured gets done. And so I think you set the expectation in a company that we measure this, so it's important. So I better be doing this. And by the way, that's a good statement. That's not a bad statement, but what gets measured gets done. And then the flip side of that statement is what gets done gets measured. And I think that this is a miss a lot of times in the fact that How do we separate work that gives a high return into an organization versus busy work? Well, we don't spend enough time on what gets done gets measured. What kind of a return are we getting for the effort, time, energy, people that we're putting in that area? Now that I spoke it, and by the way, when people say, "Well, I don't think measurement counts," I say, "Well, now wait a minute. Let's talk about that for just a second." I'm not a bowler, but when I was a kid, I would go bowling with my friends, and they had 10 pins down there, and we would be having fun. We'd be eating. We'd be having a great time, but we'd release that ball down that alley, and for about 3 seconds, we'd wait to see what happened. And by the way, we got instant measurement. Okay, you knock 7 pins down. Here comes the ball again. We do it again. So somebody says, well, you know what? I don't think really that's important. I don't think we need those pins. Honestly, shoot, let's just bowl without the pins. Well, I mean, how many times would you pick up a ball, put it down that alley, let it go clear to the end, nothing's happening, plunk in the back, and here comes it back. I'll bet about 3 times you would do that, and you wouldn't be bowling anymore. The only reason we're bowling is we're wanting to have some kind of a measurement. We're wanting to say we want some kind of a feat. The energy comes from the measurement. In fact, I tell people even a bad measurement can give you better energy than no measurement. And so measurement, I think, is very essential. So now what happens is I teach the 3 R's. When people say, okay, where should I put my time, effort, energy, whatever? What's required of me? What do I have to do? What gives me my greatest return? And what gives me my greatest reward? And I think measurement has to come in those areas. And we all have required things that we do that we don't maybe particularly want to do, but it's essential for us to have a good business, so we do that. The return, of course, whatever the return is, that's where you need to put most of your resources, time, effort, and energy, because the return is what you're looking for. And then reward, if you don't measure reward, even if I'm getting the first 2 R's, if it's not rewarding to me, it's only a matter of time until I retire or I go to do something else. So what I do is I share with people what you want to do is you not only want to measure those 3 things, you want to line them up. Let me describe a happy day, a fulfilling day in a person's life. A fulfilling day in my life is when what I have to do, requirement, is what I do really well, returned. And I love doing it, reward. When you can line those 3 R's up, you will never stop working in your life, because everything you need is in the measurement of those 3 R's.
John, today's been a blessing because it's reconfirmed the things that we're doing as an organization in terms of charting our course, enrolling people in a vision to become the best mortgage banking company, to give them an idea of giving away, serving others before self, as opposed to what they're going to get. Yeah. The measurement is the harvest, and Marcy just shared with us that they've now touched 500,000 kids, and it re-enrolled everyone in the room to do more, to be a part of this movement that's actually making kids better. So measures do matter, but your wisdom is what has mattered most to us all today. And we're going to take a break this summer. I know you are too, and we'll be back to see you in the latter part of the summer, early fall. I know you'll be relocating from Florida up to North Carolina, and we just wish you great health and continued blessing. And thank you for sowing into all of our lives, because you absolutely, positively are changing lives and changing the world for the better. John Maxwell, thank you so much for being a part of our Supreme Leadership Series.
Thank you, Pat. Sure love you, man. Come up and see me in Highland.
You too, brother. Thank you now.